Okay, so today I thought I would talk a bit about enthusiasm. That's a topic I find quite interesting, and I think about it quite a bit because it's important, I think. You could also call it joie de vivre. It's kind of like the base state and the excitement. Gotta be a bit careful here. With which you go through life, and if you look forward to stuff, if you're excited, joyful, I guess enthusiasm. And I think I don't have that much of it, to be honest. At least once I did a kind of questionnaire, Big Five or something, online quiz, and it gave the result that my enthusiasm is very low, like in the lowest 1 percentile or whatever. I don't know if that's accurate, and it was just a short quiz, but it kind of made me think, because I do feel like this is a quality that I'm lacking in. I don't know if it's a quality, it's more of a character trait, and I think the idea of Big Five is that it's pretty stable and that it's not something you can just easily train yourself in. Oh no, one of those sections again. I gotta focus for a second. Boom. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, how am I gonna do this? Okay, back to my thoughts. I'm not sure to what extent you can really change your base level of enthusiasm. And I think there's definitely a correlation to your age, because when I compare my own levels of enthusiasm to those of a kid, it's obviously worlds apart in terms of magnitude. When I was a kid, I was really looking forward to vacations or getting gifts for Christmas or for my birthday, and now it's just a meh feeling. But still, doesn't mean it has to be low as an adult. But again, also looking at my friend group, people 30 plus, I would say that you do get the impression that anhedonia becomes more and more of a struggle. Because also it feels like you've seen most stuff. It's like you've already went to 20 vacations. You've already visited most places you're interested in, maybe. You already made some money. You purchased the stuff that you thought would make you happy. You tried a lot of hobbies. It's kind of like a feeling of being jaded, it seems like, to some extent. So I guess it's a general thing that seems to somewhat correlate with age, that this youthful joie de vivre gets lost. But I think it's also like a personality thing, and it's maybe something that we should strive to cultivate, because for some of us it doesn't come natural to us, right? So why do I think I'm low in enthusiasm? I think it's generally like a very, very low amount of looking forward to stuff, even to vacations and stuff that people in general are really fond of, or I don't know what else. Vacations, great meals, seeing their families, seeing their friends. Many times I feel like a bit neutral about it. Sometimes even less than neutral. It's like I don't actually want to do it so much. And it makes me think, of course, because it makes me a bit jealous of normal people, quote unquote, who do seem to get tons of positive emotions from just, I don't know, simple things like vacations or even simpler things like seeing like a friend of, or like, I don't know, seeing a friend group, throwing a birthday party, like doing the typical stuff that we're sold is gonna make us happy. And I would probably have to look up enthusiasm, how that differs from just I don't know, happiness or joyfulness. But it's a concept that stuck with me, and it's a bit more neutral. It's just kind of like feeling, I think, a strong feeling of anticipation. It's probably linked to your dopamine, and if you have ADHD or something, you're probably gonna struggle a bit with dopamine anyways. and you're gonna be somewhat impulsive, so you might struggle with this as well. I'm starting to feel some raindrops coming down on me, but so far I think I'm gonna continue making this video. Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking quite a bit about the question, how do you improve your enthusiasm levels, let's just say. And I think it's quite tough. It's not something you can just do by switching like one small thing around in your life. There's probably no magic pill. But if I really observed my life in a way, I thought to myself, there are things that give me enthusiasm. The kind of strange things maybe, or not always typical things, but there are things that I do feel positive emotions about. There's always like a bit of a twist, I feel like, to those positive emotions, but they're there somewhere. Not always in plain sight, but they're there. Just to give you an example, sometimes on a hike I do feel like, okay, this is exhausting. I don't really love to hike upwards like a steep mountain. I know that's bad if you're in Switzerland, but that's something I do sometimes struggle with, just finding the motivation to really be joyful about a hike. But then there are moments that I do find very joyful, which are colors sometimes. If I see certain color schemes, like everything you see here, this interesting green, this gives me joy. Or just making a break, thinking about stuff, this gives me joy as well. Having the room to think freely without being judged, without having time pressure, that's beautiful as well. Taking a break, having a little snack, that's beautiful as well. Just, I don't know, the typical stuff that people maybe enjoy. And sometimes my girlfriend will tell me, look at this beautiful mountain, and I can't really see it because I feel like I have different glasses on. I find different things beautiful than what she finds beautiful, and that's okay. That's totally okay. Sometimes I even get a bit annoyed if she points at stuff and tells me to look at it, because it feels like almost enthusiasm is something elusive, or joy, something elusive that you have to find yourself. You almost have to stumble on it yourself, and if somebody points at it in front of you, it doesn't work. And I think it's the same when I was young, probably similar with you as well, when your parents brought you to, I don't know, museums. Mine did quite a bit, and I didn't really enjoy the art. And my father brought me to some classical music concert, and I found it quite monotonous and not engaging. And it doesn't work. You have to learn to enjoy it yourself. It has to be intrinsic. You can't, I mean, it can rarely work maybe for some people, but for me, it seems that me enjoying something is something that has to come from myself. It has to come from my own heart, and it has to be something that I discover myself almost. Also, me making this video is also something I discovered. Sometimes when I'm on vacation and it's just, I don't know, me being a consumer, just eating, sleeping, going to restaurants, looking at stuff, I feel just like a consumer, like a parasite in a way. I feel like there's something missing, and what is missing, I noticed, is my creative, I guess, nature or whatever, or my need for creativity is not met in vacation, when I'm on vacation. Or my not necessarily creativity in the sense that I have to like write an opera or write a novel, but more in the sense of creating something, okay? And being able to make these videos, I feel like I do in a way create something. I'm here sharing my thoughts, I'm talking to you, and I think that's beautiful in a way. It's quite motivating to me, it's fun, I enjoy it, and it does kind of fill that void of creativity that I feel sometimes. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you gotta identify those things yourself which give you joy, And this is automatically going to lead, I think, to more enthusiasm for life and for experiences, because I think it can be kind of frustrating if I don't know, normal life doesn't give you necessarily that joy that other people expect you to have, or that enthusiasm. And so I think sometimes when I'm not excited about going on vacation, I think my mind does recognize that some of my needs will be unmet on vacation, because I'm going to be kind of like stuck with my girlfriend in a van, which is nice, but then again I feel like I don't really have private space so much. Also, I can't really do creative stuff. I can't work on creative projects. I can't advance in other things. And yeah, I think this is something I am missing, like the personal space, the creativity, also, I guess, playfulness. I do have a Steam Deck with me, but sometimes I would like to, I don't know, play Diablo 4 or something. That's a bit difficult. In any ways, I think you need to, or I need to, design your life in a way that you can do more joyful things, and you will automatically feel more enthusiasm about life. And to me, like, questions you can ask yourself if you're not sure about your enthusiasm levels is something like, do you look forward to any specific moment in the future? Is there something that you have planned that you're looking forward to? Do you experience a lot of joy while doing this stuff? But yeah, to me, I would say I'm probably admittedly in the lower range when it comes to that. I think it's mostly genetic, to be honest. Again, my grand theory of mostly genetic determinism basically explains why I naturally have low levels of that. But then again, I don't want to be all pessimistic. I want to try to find an optimistic angle when it comes to that. And I think, and this is probably the main point of this video, I think what's really important for everybody to understand, and you as a listener as well, is that be honest with yourself with what you really enjoy. Be honest with yourself with what you really enjoy, what gives you joy. And be like a detective about it. Be like Sherlock Holmes about it. Sometimes you have to observe yourself, and only then you will find out what exactly brings you joy. And this is stuff that you have to cultivate. This is stuff that you almost have to remind yourself of, that you're that type of person. For instance, for a long time I didn't even know that I needed personal space, that I needed like time to do creative stuff. I didn't even really know it. I mean, in a sense, I showed those same tendencies as a kid. I remember when my parents told me that we were going to, I don't know, France or something on vacation, or to Italy. I still remember not being super pumped about it, not being super happy about it, because I would probably have preferred to just stay at home, being able to read and write and just play soccer, do whatever I wanted. And I think this autonomy was always very important to me. And to be honest, also being stuck with my parents wasn't always super pleasant, and there was always almost like some stress with my sister and my brothers, so it wasn't always that pleasant, and that lack of autonomy wasn't something I enjoyed very much. And this is why also nowadays I have very little nostalgia, you could call it, for family time. I don't perceive it as something to strive forward to, not because it's not nice, potentially just because I never really felt this, I don't know, careless sense of being in a family, being laughing, this wasn't something I really registered as a kid. Sounds a bit depressing, but it's just the way it is. But it also explains why I am the way I am now. But again, coming back to my point, I think it's very important that you are curious about what exactly makes you happy and joyful about stuff. And it might be something surprising. For instance, when I play video games, I noticed sometimes I don't know, I love the music, I love the art style, but sometimes, just an example, Octopath Traveler, it's like a pretty simple JRPG. The music is great, the story is terrible, it's shit, I find personally. The combat is solid, it's like Pokemon turn-based, but what I really enjoy is kind of like finding ways, like a puzzle, to quickly and efficiently master the game and become powerful at it. So I think there's quite a lot of people like this. There's this one YouTube channel called Fextra Life. I think it's at least a group or one YouTuber who also has a website, like these wikis of Dark Souls and Elden Ring, and he basically focuses on RPGs. And what this guy seems to be also passionate about is really finding the best builds in Elden Ring, for example, kind of like breaking the game by being smart, solving the puzzle of the constraints that the developers thought of, and then finding a great, elegant solution that makes the game fun, but also kind of easy to play. I don't want it to be too easy, but when it's a difficult game, I think it's still challenging. But that's something I also enjoy. I'm not that methodical. I wouldn't create like Excel sheets to improve my damage output or something like some people do. But I think this is also something that's specific. But knowing that I enjoy it, I can play it more often. Or I can try to create scenarios and play games where I'm able to do this kind of stuff. And I also noticed when I was playing XCOM that I really enjoy turn-based games, and also playing Darkest Dungeon and so on. And now I'm looking forward to playing Jagged Alliance 2 or 3 and other turn-based games, because for some reason I really enjoy the tactical idea of it. And I also enjoy difficult games like Darkest Dungeon. I want to have to think about what I'm doing next. I want to struggle a bit, and this is stuff I do enjoy. This is just one example where, I don't know, like typical games which are just have a good story. Sometimes even Red Dead Redemption 2, I wanted to play it, and I'm sure I will play it, but just the idea of having a really long story that I'm kind of just going through, it's not that interesting to me. And also I started playing Mafia 2 or 3, or Mafia whatever, one of those great Mafia games, which was a classic, and there's a remaster of it. But you just kind of like follow a story, and it's, I don't know, I don't care so much about the story. I care about solving puzzles. That's basically something I recognized. And this is just a metaphor for life in general. There are many other things that I enjoy as well, and sometimes it's the simple things. And I think and this is very important as well, people like me, and maybe you're similar to me, who kind of struggle with the enthusiasm thing, we have to make a conscious effort to look for those joyful moments and places, because they're not going to necessarily fall into our lap. On the contrary, our minds can be kind of clouded with rumination, with just pessimism and anxiety and negativity about the future and whatever. And so we have to almost consciously look for moments where we can find joy. And I think in this way, enthusiasm maybe can be a muscle that we can train to some extent, at least. Obviously, it's never going to be levels of like a toddler or a dog, but I think this is something we need to cultivate. It's like a spark of a flame. It's just a small spark, but then if you try to blow air on it, it can become an actual fire. And I think we shouldn't expect it to be a fire. Maybe it's enough to just be a small, like cinder or something. I don't know the right words. I know this from Dark Souls, but in any case, maybe it's enough if it's just like a small flame, and we shouldn't expect it to be like a huge flame anymore, because I think it becomes harder and harder as you age to have that enthusiasm. And I think that's also a reason why a lot of people get kids at this age, because they kind of ask themselves, is this it? Is anything else going to happen? Just looking back at this beautiful hike we did. Or, is this going to be everything, basically? I feel like this is quite a common theme. And you don't need to have kids, I think, to get this spark of joy again. I'm sometimes trying to hypnotize myself. Sometimes I don't believe myself either. But I thought about this as well today on the hike, that there's really two sides of myself. I think I had this thought previously, but I had to remind myself of this. Basically, there's one that's kind of light and positive and happy, and then there's the other one which is more reptilian brain and is more pessimistic and negative. And the light side, the positive side, has to kind of like observe and almost like train the weaker side, like a Pavlovian dog. So I think the good superhuman me has to have a tight leash in order for me to function well. So that's a bit of an abstract point, I guess. But look for those small angles that you could be viewing reality through that give you a spark of joy. Try to find it, and sometimes it's a puzzle in and of itself, but it's a puzzle that maybe we can solve as well. Assuming, I don't know, let's take any examples. You have to go on vacation with your parents, you don't really feel like doing it, but still maybe, I don't know, you can convince your parents to go to some museum that you're really interested in, or just chilling at the beach all the time, or you just, I don't know, you bring a friend and you're just working out all the time and playing beach volleyball, and try to make stuff fun for you too. And I think we also, as men, sometimes we feel like this isn't something we have the right to claim, to ask for, to have our needs be met. But I think it's important. And otherwise, if we do stuff that we don't really want to do, we get depressed, but also we get kind of passive aggressive, at least I do, and other people feel that as well. They feel that you don't want to be there, and then they will also kind of lash out and will become you're not going to be enjoyable to be around if you're always like some kind of brooding pile of anger and resentment. I think resentment can build up, especially in long-term relationships, when you feel like, oh, I didn't really want to do this, and why am I on vacation, and now I'm spending money on something I don't really want to do. And it's easy almost to fall into this trap of resentment and unfairness, and it's unfair that I had to do this, and it's unfair that she didn't do this, and that she didn't appreciate the gift or whatever. It's easy to fall into that trap, but we have to again make a conscious effort to kind of nudge ourselves into the area of joy. And it can be just a small spark of joy. Don't expect it to be like an inferno of joy. Just look for the small spark of joy, and I think it is basically what joy is. It's just a small spark. It's something you discover and cultivate it. And it could be the weirdest stuff. I'm trying to think of other stuff that I find joyful. I find making videos joyful. It's not always enjoyable. It can be kind of tedious to just edit, but it's pretty joyful. I enjoy it. And it's something I kind of discovered not too long ago as well. And it's something creative as well. And it combines different interests that I have. And I enjoy ASMR as well. And it's just a great combination of different things. Yeah. There's some people coming by, so I'm going to stop talking. Okay, these were just some Norwegian girls. Yeah. So again, what's some other stuff that's maybe a bit strange that I enjoy? Sometimes I really enjoy the coziness aspect about the van. Sometimes I feel like a bit stuck, I feel like a bit claustrophobic. I really don't enjoy driving and being driven around in the car. It just makes me anxious and gives me like a feeling of, okay, I don't want to do this at all for long times. But I do enjoy finding like a cozy spot to chill in, to kind of feel like, I don't know, imagine myself being like in a James Bond film. No, not really a James Bond film, some kind of film where I'm kind of have to hide from people, where I have to be undercover. I don't know, sometimes making small scenarios in my head can make reality a bit more pleasurable. And yeah, maybe sometimes we have to find these kind of cheesy stories about even the hero's journey. Maybe try to find the hero's journey in your life as well. I'm sure all of us have difficult struggles that we have to overcome. And how about you lean into that a bit and find like the positive aspects to your own life and painting it into like a nice light. And I think that's a bit the main message here, to try to see the glass half full, but also be very keen in observing yourself and what exactly it is you enjoy. And I think there's probably many other people, millions of other people like myself who maybe don't enjoy the typical stuff about the workplace. Also at the workplace, I don't necessarily love to chit-chat with coworkers and do small talk, but there's a few coworkers I really enjoy talking to, and I like to vent to them, and I really like them, so I try to talk to them. And also there's a good friend of mine who works nearby. We sometimes go to McDonald's over lunch. It's not great food, but it's just enjoyable to see him talk about video games and stock prices or whatever, and it's just something I try to do because I know it's gonna make me feel nice. And yeah, I don't necessarily love big social gatherings, but seeing like a few good friends at like our bar, so to say, that we tend to go to, it's just something I enjoy, or to our steakhouse, or just seeing them and, I don't know, watching some stupid football game or whatever. It can be enjoyable, and it can be super simple. It can be almost like amazingly simple, whatever brings you joy, but try to find those things. Also, some of the things that bring us joy they're a bit fickle. I think that's the word, right? Fickle. If you overdo it, you're probably not gonna enjoy it anymore. So if you really like video games and you're just playing video games all the time, or you really like anime and you're just watching anime all the time, you're probably gonna get kind of tired of it. It's gonna be some oversaturation. So maybe don't overdo it. It's not like some button that you can just push, like some crack heroin or something, that's like rat experiments, basically, whatever happens in those. I think it's more something that's subtle, and that you shouldn't be overdone. The only exception is probably working out and going to the sauna. I think that's something you can do every day, and it's going to give you good benefits. So that's also something that's important to notice. A lot of the stuff that gives me joy, also, I kind of don't want to do it initially. I have to kind of push myself to do it. One of these examples is working out. Another example is jumping into cold water. I never enjoy taking a cold shower, but afterwards I feel amazing. And so I always have to relearn the fact that this is something that's good for me, and that's something that makes me feel amazing. But yeah, honestly, try to find that small spark and be honest with yourself too. Just because your friends go to like some loud EDM festival doesn't mean that you always also have to enjoy it. You can still go just to try it out. I think we should always try to make an effort to go out of our comfort zone. But eventually, I think you will see some patterns. And I think what we enjoyed as kids, oftentimes it's quite stable actually. Our personalities aren't as fluid as we would like to think. And even as a kid, I really liked to play alone or with my brother, just playing with Lego or something, building small machines, painting. This is still stuff I enjoy. And sometimes you have to tweak it to make it just right. And sometimes it can be really simple things like just taking a hike and listening to a podcast or something. And if you keep forgetting, like myself, schedule it. Put it in your Google Calendar or whatever, and say me time, and write exactly down what you're going to do. And plan these joyful things ahead if you keep forgetting what gives you joy. And extra points, of course, if the thing that brings you joy is also good for you, like hiking in nature or working out, going to the sauna or whatever it might be. Because I hope it's not just like drugs that give you joy. And I think that's, I guess, also a topic you could delve into, is to what extent enthusiasm, if it's not something that's just God given to us, if we should just take antidepressants or something to have that enthusiasm, to just wake up and love life and love everything, looking forward to everything. And I don't have the right answer to that question. I just think there's no free lunch really, as far as I've seen so far. And I feel like all those antidepressants, in many cases, they don't even work, and they will, I think, definitely have some long-term consequences. And I think it's a realistic risk to assume that it's going to be harder in the future to generate those emotions without those drugs and without having to pay for crutches. So I'm not going to judge you if you do go that route. And if your depression and anxiety are so debilitating that you can't even get up and do anything, then by all means try to go that route, and it can really help you, I think. Especially me believing in genetic determinism, and also, I guess, childhood trauma determinism. But then again, for all the other people, try to find that spark in life, and don't forget what gives you joy, because there aren't that many things necessarily. I think those things are rare, and we should cultivate them like a treasure. For me, one example is music. I really enjoy music. It's, I think, the one single thing that gives me the most joy in life is listening to music and discovering new songs and listening to them 20 times in a row. And just the way I listen to them is different. Maybe that sounds a bit snobbish, but I really like jazz chords in black music and in funk and R&B music. And I like to look at it more from an angle of music production, I guess. Of like, okay, I don't know what kind of synth was used. How are the vocals layered? That's the stuff that I find super fascinating, and it's a lot of people will not find it enjoyable at all, and it's okay. I don't have to relate with everybody about it, and many of the songs I enjoy aren't everybody's taste, I think. For instance, I really love 80s pop music and rock music, like, I don't know, Ambrosia and Doobie Brothers, and I feel like they're very complex music and great vocals. Just these cool vintage instruments to an actual band playing. That stuff I really get a kick out of. And I hope and I'm confident that I'm never gonna lose this joy for music. But even then I sometimes forget about it, that I have this one joyful, almost like it's like a cheat code. It's a cheat code to be happy, not necessarily happy, but joyful. And honestly, try to make these things a habit that give you joy, and do them, but also be open to discovering new stuff. Sometimes you can also transfer certain activities that you love, because if you recognize why you love them, you can find other things that are similar. Just one example, again, as I said, I really enjoy difficult games where, like a puzzle, I have to solve them in a way that I can master them quite well. So I guess I like puzzles, so maybe I can look for other possibilities in life where I can solve puzzles. And maybe doing actual puzzles, doing board games or something, even though I kind of hate those. So maybe there are other ways where I could be doing puzzles in real life. Okay, you get what I'm saying? So maybe look for those patterns and try to become an expert when it comes to that. But also one thing that's important to me, if you see somebody else having joy, don't eliminate that spark of joy. Don't be that asshole who says, why are you having fun doing this? This is pathetic and really evil behavior. You really shouldn't be doing that. Just one example. My girlfriend is really into stones for some reason. It's a bit weird. I called her Gollum before as a joke, so maybe I'm mean too. But basically she was just collecting stones from the ground, and she loves like sparkly stones and everything. It's a bit childish, I guess you could say. But who am I to judge? She enjoys that stuff. She likes minerals. She is a bit into that woo-woo stuff. Who the fuck cares? So I'm the last person who's gonna try to discourage her from collecting stones. I don't really get it, to be honest. But still, I don't have to get it. It's her thing, and I should be supportive of that, and like making her a bad conscience that she's looking at stones would be a total asshole move. So if you're ever around people who enjoy something, don't take their spark away, because that spark can disappear. I mean, many people who love music, for instance, and then become musicians might end up hating music in a way. It can happen, and it's very sad, because you can technically lose your spark and lose your joy. So again, try to find that joy. Be honest about it. Be very curious about what exactly it is that makes you happy and joyful about life or about a certain hobby. Do more of it. Cultivate it. Don't expect it to be a big spark of joy, but repeat it as well. Don't discourage other people who have joy. Don't be snobbish about hobbies, and some are better and some are worse. If somebody just really enjoys watching crime TV or like listening to true crime podcasts or whatever, don't judge it. Let them be. Let them do whatever the fuck they want. So I guess that's my parting message. You can tell me what you think about it. I think it's a fascinating topic. Again, I do feel like it's mostly genetic. I'm never going to be super enthusiastic about life, but I do feel through being very good at knowing myself, knowing what brings me joy, cultivating those things, planning those things ahead, and repeating those things, I can increase my enthusiasm and my joyfulness in life in general. And I can encourage you to try the same. All right, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.